Welcome everyone to another episode of the VMblog Expert Interview Series. And today we're speaking with Ben Ofiri, the co-founder and the CEO of Komodor. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Davis. It's great to be here.
So I guess first off, congratulations on the launch of Komodor. And just for folks who don't know, maybe you can kick things off by giving our audience an overview of the company.
Sure, sounds great. In a very high level, what we want to become is basically the default place where developers and ops team go to troubleshoot their Kubernetes applications.
And, obviously that's, an extremely interesting thing, a point of topic to cover. Can you explain what you mean by troubleshooting and how it's different from traditional monitoring and observability?
Sure thing. So it turns out that in modern complex distributed systems, every time there is an issue, every time there is an incident, it's not that of an easy job to really understand what's going on, to manage the issue, to fix it, and then to prevent similar issues to reoccur. And in order to do that efficiently, you basically, as the developer, you almost need to be a detective using like 10 to 15 different tools to understand what's going on, what the things that are relevant or correlate to the specific symptom you're trying to troubleshoot, how to identify the root cause. Once I identify it, how do I fix it? And how can I make sure this issue won't happen again or similar issue in the future? So when we come to think about it, we like to think about troubleshooting overall divided into three pillars. We call it the three pillars of troubleshooting. And the three pillars are understanding, then managing the issue, and then preventing similar issues to happen again. And when we think about those three pillars, what we identify is that the main difficulty given an issue, given an incident in your system, is first of all that you really need to understand really, really well what's going on in your system. So usually this will be the first question that you as the on-call developer or the DevOps who is in charge of this issue, this is the first question you ask yourself is probably, what's going on in my system? What happened that can explain this symptom? So this bucket of understand contains different tasks so we can understand better the relations of the different changes that happen, the different services that are affected from those changes, the impact of those services and changes to your customers. And this is a very hard task to do. The second bucket is once you understand what's going on, you need to do something. You need to be active. Sometimes it means that you need to coordinate with other team members. Sometimes it means that you need to take an action, like reverting or roll back a specific change. So we also need to be very active in order to solve the issue. And lastly, if you really want to troubleshoot efficiently, you must make sure how to become preventive, meaning how can you make sure similar issue won't reoccur in your system. It might be to put other alerts in place. It might be to identify the root cause and making sure it won't happen again. Or it even might be as simple as writing a good post-mortem so other team members can learn what happened and how to avoid it in the future. And what we identify is that all of those three pillars that you must really do in order to troubleshoot are currently spread across different tools, different processes, and sometimes even different team members, making the troubleshooting process almost impossible to do efficiently in complex and distributed organizations as we have today in most R&D companies. So basically what we want to do in Komodor is become the platform that allows team to troubleshoot from A to Z, from understanding what happened in their system, what changed and how this change affected the symptoms, to actually manage the issue from collaboration and taking actions, and then to also prevent similar issues to reoccur in their system.
And if we could, I'd like to talk about your focus on Kubernetes. In today's modern systems, surely there's other infrastructure pieces that are touching the application. So how do you add broad value while being hyper-focused on Kubernetes?
Yeah, that's a great question. So actually, I think, the best answer is, first of all, to describe a bit how we see Kubernetes as a very interesting and very impactful piece of the stack. So basically, the adoption of Kubernetes, as you probably know, is increasing significantly. And we see more and more organizations using Kubernetes to orchestrate their containers. But we see Kubernetes not only as an orchestrator of Docker and containers platform, but basically we see Kubernetes as almost the operating system for the entire cloud operation stack. and I will try to explain. So think about what Linux did for operating system for servers, or what even recently Chrome did for web browsers. So it's not only one of the pieces in the stack, it basically becomes the heart of the stack. And then all of the other application or all of the other tools are built upon the operating system, right? So if we look on Kubernetes, what we see today is that companies who are using Kubernetes also using other tools such as the CI/CD tools, the observability tools, the configuration management tools, etc., as in a very high connection and independent with the Kubernetes. Meaning the Kubernetes is the heart, and then they have all of the other tools attached to the Kubernetes, so they can monitor it, they can deploy it faster, and they can test it easily. So basically, our focus on Kubernetes allows us two things. One of them is to deeply understand what changed within the Kubernetes layer, all of the configuration changes, all of the scaling or downscaling of the Kubernetes, all of the environment variable that changed maybe dynamically or maybe in a manual process, and of course, deploys and health events, which are very hard to do if you're not sitting on the Kubernetes layer. But the second thing it allows us is to have a deep understanding with all of the integrated tools, like the CI/CD tools, the observability tools, and the underlying infrastructure. And this way, we can understand what's happening in Kubernetes, but also what happened in the surrounding tools that can affect your Kubernetes services. So it has dual incentive for us to have a very native and very deep integration with Kubernetes.
And I have to ask, is there anything else like this on the market? It seems like, you know, the ability to understand changes within a system would be a desire for any engineer. So how have teams been doing this before your solution came about?
Yeah, so, it's a great question. And if, to be completely honest, basically Komodor is the tool that I always wanted as a developer, and my partner as well. And also the first employees that we hired, we basically, the pitch to take them was, hey, we're building the tool that you probably always wanted as a developer. Let's do it together. So definitely it's a tool that is very appealing for developers to have the control and visibility towards all of the things that change, that are affected their team, their customers, their systems, etc. And I think when you ask, what are the other players around it? So we need to understand two things. The adoption of microservices in Kubernetes, even though people are talking about it for like 5 years, is really happening now in most big enterprises and most organizations. And the second thing is the adoption of cloud services and managed services, and the fact that everything is as code today and companies are moving much faster is also a trend that, even though it's very popular to talk about, is actually being in effect only in the last couple of years. So the fact that organizations, even like Komodor today, can make hundreds or even thousands of changes every day was science fiction just 5 years ago. Because back then, companies used to release or to deploy once a week, once a month, once a quarter, right? So we're talking about something that is relatively new. Now, if we're talking about other tools, like, to be honest, there is no single platform for developers to really understand what changed in a single place. So actually, they are forced to bounce and use different tools, different dashboards, different debugging systems, from API console to UI things, to really understand what happened and to manage all of the changes in all of those tools. Basically, what we want to do in Komodor is to bring all of this context of what changed in all of the different pieces into a single pane of glass. And I would say that it's a big vision. We started with something, it's a big vision, but we don't see currently any other competitor who is having the exact same proposition. I will say that in the last couple of years, or even like in the last 12 months, we do see new companies emerge from stealth or doing small pivots, and they're trying to solve similar pain that we described. And meaning, there are so many microservices, so many different tools. There must be some orchestrator that allow troubleshoot or deep understanding of what changed from a single pane of glass or from a single source of truth. Obviously, each one of those companies have a different approach and different focus. For example, we're the only one that is Kubernetes only and Kubernetes focused platform, but we definitely see new players in the last year that at least talking about similar pain points and offer different approaches on how to mitigate this pain.
Ben, this has been real interesting and educational. So I want to make sure, as we wrap things up, where can those folks who are watching go to find out more about the things we talked about today? Do you have a place to go Is there a demo? Is there a trial? Where do people go to learn more?
Sure. So first of all, the best place to start is our website at komodor.com, and it's Komodor with a K for Kubernetes. We offer a free demo and free trial for our customers. We're a company founded by developers, and we're big believers in providing value before you need to pay for anything. So we're happy to demonstrate the value for our customers in an easy setup. And besides that, you can also visit on our social pages in LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. So I'm really looking forward to see some of you and be in touch.
Great. Well, this has been awesome, and I really appreciate you taking time to tell your story to the VMblog audience.
Great. It's been really, really nice. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.